Right now on Close Up with the Hollywood Reporter, we'll hear from comedy's funniest ladies on television.
I was wondering how many questions we were going to wait until you were going to bring this up.
What is it? What's the deal?
Asking for the same amount of money that a man makes on a show.
For God's sakes, yes.
There was certainly a best friend chapter of my life. I was the constant quirky best friend to like blonde stars.
I can't wait to finally tell the stories that represent me that no one else is telling me.
When I was 15, I had never kissed a boy. And the director comes over to me and he said to me, an apple is an apple, a plum is a plum, a kiss isn't a kiss without the tongue.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Issa Rae, Insecure. Minnie Driver, Speechless. America Ferrera, Superstore. Kathryn Hahn, I Love Dick. Emmy Rossum, Shameless. Pamela Adlon, Better Things. Hi, and welcome to Close Up with the Hollywood Reporter. I'm Lacey Rose. Let's get started. So, Minnie, I know you've said with your role on Speechless that this was a role that a lot of other women didn't want to take because of how sort of unlikable the character was, and yet that was a piece of what appealed to you on some level, the challenge of that.
Well, it's one of my strong points, you know.
Yeah?
Being awful, but relatable.
But what is the appeal of playing someone who isn't sort of on the face of it likable?
I actually have a real problem with women being called unlikable because you never hear that about a man. You never hear it about such an unlikable bloke. You have, they're funny, they're called anti-heroes, and they're funny and they're strong and diverse and interesting. She has a very heightened set of circumstances. You're handed a baby who a doctor tells you is never going to lead a typical life. They probably won't walk, they probably won't talk. You face down this horror, and you're then in the roses. Everything after that, the baby lives, you love, your family comes back together. The small stuff doesn't really apply. You don't get worried about it, you say whatever you think. I feel like she has a different set of tenets by which she lives, and some of them are really not likable, but she's human in that way. I don't mean for her to be like, but I think a lot of actresses were worried that would somehow tarnish them.
It would be my honor, Mr. President.
Seth Wright, White House press secretary.
I just remember any questions involving potential military action should be deflected.
What military action?
Fighting to restore order from chaos with a war of words.
This president has survived an assassination attempt, and yet the president has never wavered in his belief in the American dream.
Emotion, then
right about
that's
that.
Interesting.
The president's first line of defense.
I've known you for a while now, sir. Long enough to know that when you make a decision, it's for a good reason, and that's good enough for me.
I appreciate you saying
that. So
he
pulls no punches, keeping the White House message on point.
Take that crap off your hair right now. It's not just irresponsible, it's dangerous.
When do we expect an answer?
That my role as a woman was
to the White House hiding? What's the real story? You can't keep pivoting to talking points.
Is so different. She's coming from such a different place.
Survivor,
she has a
season
job
premiere,
that is just a job,
Wednesday
and she
on
doesn't
ABC.
seek for validation in it, and she
Hey,
doesn't need
42
people to like
here.
her.
On the 6th of December, 1966, 4 guys from Liverpool stepped into Abbey
Told him I
Road
wasn't
Studios
happy.
and began to record an album.
I don't know what I
333 hours
But he
and
said,
many
"I'm not
questionable
happy today,"
substances later,
which is
the
definitely not
Beatles
what I
had
was
emerged
expecting
having
to say.
produced their 8th
And so
album,
we talked about
Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts
We
Club
yelled about
Band.
it, and then we
It
just
would go
started
on to
talking.
sell over 32 million
I know it's
copies
all weird and
worldwide
tense
and be named the greatest
and there's
album
all
of
said, and
all
it's just-
time
it's
by
miserable.
Rolling Stone magazine and many other publications.
Amy, I am
It was highly
so
experimental,
sorry.
using mold-breaking techniques and a huge array of unusual instruments. The band had produced an emotional masterpiece that epitomised the so-called Summer of Love and was a true masterpiece of its time. Yet it remains just as relevant and powerful today. Fast forward 44 years to 2010, and Justin Bieber released his hit single, Baby. This is generally considered to be a bad move. So what went wrong? How did we go from Bob Dylan to Britney Spears, from Led Zeppelin to Lady Gaga, and the Kinks to Katy Perry? But who am I to criticise the musical tastes of the vast majority of today's youth? Personally, my musical tastes are stuck in the middle of last century. But you may think that just makes me old-fashioned, stuck in the past, and I should probably move with the times. But here's the thing. There is far more to this than simple nostalgia, and when your parents keep telling you that the music died long ago, they may actually
No
have a
embalming.
point.
We keep her in the
Because it
fridge until
turns
we
out that
cremate her and
science
piggyback the ashes in
agrees
what
with
is
them.
essentially an old coffee
Over the
can.
past 30+ years, researchers have been studying how trends in music have evolved. And a recent study in 2012 by the Spanish National Research Council revealed that the suspicions of somewhat antiquated individuals, such as myself, are very true. Music is getting worse every year.
In terms of the conversation, and people tend to be quicker to take sides, but I think that's the most compelling element, that people are drawn to a specific trait in female characters specifically. I think for me, in watching television, I'm always like, what can I talk about? What's the piece of a performance or a choice that I can most relate to, that I can put myself in those shoes and be like, would I do the same thing? I made a mistake, but at least I can see that I do wrong.
Well, what do I do wrong, Issa?
Do you really want to know?
Please tell me.
Okay, have you noticed, Molly, the common denominator in all your can't find a man bull you? Yeah, let's do the rundown, Molly. 1 minute, he's too thirsty. The next minute, he's too distant. The next, he's too gay. And then when you do find someone that you actually like, you ruin it by doing too much. You act like finding someone.
Researchers took around 500,000 recordings from all genres of music from the period of 1955 to 2010, and they meticulously ran every single song through a set of complex algorithms. These algorithms measured 3 distinct metrics of each song: the harmonic complexity, the timbral diversity, and loudness. The most shocking result that the researchers found was that over the past few decades, timbre in songs has dropped drastically. Timbre is the texture, colour, and the quality of the sounds within the music. In other words, the song's richness and depth of sound. The researchers found that timbral variety peaked in the 1960s and has since been steadily declining. The timbral palette has been homogenized, meaning songs increasingly have less diversity with their instruments and recording techniques. This divide is clearly evident if we take what is widely considered to be the Beatles' masterpiece, A Day in the Life, which was recorded using an orchestra of 40 musicians. But this is not classical music, this is pop.
I want you to imagine walking into a room, control room with a bunch of people, 100 people hunched over at desks with little dials, and that control room will shape the thoughts and feelings of 1 billion people. This might sound like science fiction, but this actually exists right now, today. I know because I used to be in one of those control rooms. I was a design ethicist at Google, where I studied how do you ethically steer people's thoughts. Because what we don't talk about is a handful of people working at a handful of technology companies, through their choices, will steer what 1 billion people are thinking today. Because when you pull out your phone and they design how this works or what's on the feed, it's scheduling little blocks of time in our minds. If you see a notification, it schedules you to have thoughts that maybe you didn't intend to have. If you swipe over that notification, it schedules you into spending a little bit of time getting sucked into something that maybe you didn't intend to get sucked into. When we talk about technology, we tend to talk about it as this blue sky opportunity. It could go any direction. And I want to get serious for a moment and tell you why it's going in a very specific direction. Because it's not evolving randomly. there's a hidden goal driving the direction of all of the technology we make. And that goal is the race for our attention. Because every news site, TED, elections, politicians, games, even meditation apps have to compete for one thing, which is our attention. And there's only so much of it. And the best way to get people's attention is to know how someone's mind works. And there's a whole bunch of persuasive techniques that I learned in college at a lab called the Persuasive Technology Lab to get people's attention.